going to let people just kind of roll in for a minute while we share this out, Carm. So you can mute yourself if you want. And if you want to share this out to the world, you can.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. I always forget to unmute myself. So while we're letting people come in, if you would be willing, share this out, making sure we get this out and the word comes out. I'm going to make sure my phone is on Do Not Disturb so that I don't get interrupted. We have a really special guest here today. So I just want to make sure that everybody is piling into the room and we can show her some love. Um, so, as you guys know, if you've attended this show before, this is the Laughter After Trauma show. And we basically come together. My name is Deanna. I am an educator, entertainer, speaker, coach. And what I do is bring light and lightness to a topic that's otherwise heavy on the topic of trauma. This is April, which is the National Month of Hope. So I am highlighting people whose story can integrate hope into our lives. So with that being said, today's guest is Carmelia Ray. And I'm going to read a little bit from her bio so that you guys get to know her. Carmelia is an expert in the world of online and offline dating. She is a 30-year veteran in the dating industry and has helped over 8,000 couples and 65,000 plus singles successfully navigate the world of dating and relationships. It's a whole lot of people. She's appeared on TV shows, award-winning reality TV shows. She's also, I thought this was really cool, won the iDate's 2020 Best Dating Coach Award. So she can tell you more about that. We're going to get into a little bit of Carmelia's story, but I want to just go ahead and get her on camera and we can get the interview going. Here's how the show is going to flow. We're going to talk for 20 minutes, 30 minutes here, just naturally, however it goes. And then when we're finished, we'll open that up. If you guys have questions in this area, I think relationships, safety, and online dating, all of that is super, super important. But I think it will be cool to find out how Carmelia even came into matchmaking. I think it's really cool. So with no further ado, I am going to go ahead and invite you up to camera. If I know how to do it, here it is, video. Okay, there you go. I think all you have to do is accept the invite. Hopefully she got the invite because God knows I have fun with the technology. Okay, great. So let's see. I'm going to unmute you. Well, I don't know if I can unmute you. I think you have to unmute yourself. I don't think I have the control
Here
to
we
unmute you
go.
only to mute. There you go.
Hey.
So pretty in pink today. I love it.
Yay. Oh, well, it's
So
spring, right? I want it to be spring.
so you're in Canada, right? You're in the Toronto area. Is that where you are right now in the world?
I am, but I was just in LA celebrating my birthday,
Oh,
which was amazing. Back like end of March, and heading to New York next, in a couple of weeks for a matchmaking conference, actually. So really
I
excited about that.
love it. So before we get into any of your story, just tell us a little bit about your background, where you're from. Do you have family? If you want to share that with us, just give us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I am Canadian, not Canadian born. I'm a Filipino Canadian. My parents immigrated many years ago. I don't want to date myself, but let's just say early 70s. So I am based in Toronto. I work with singles globally. Many of my matchmaking clients are like North American wide, and I've been married, divorced in a blended family now. So I have a 23, 17, and 5-year old turning 6, and she's in the background here. So she may pop in. Yeah, there she
I
is.
hear her. Yeah, there she is. I love it. I
Yeah.
love it.
Woo!
Hey,
What'd you
hey,
say?
sweetie. She
My,
knows
my,
how to
my
be
mom will
camera.
be taking her because I think we're going to be talking about some adult stuff. So,
Maybe.
yeah, maybe. So, yeah,
Yeah, so I love it that she's not camera shy. She's used to you always working on screen.
no, yeah.
So it's awesome. All right. Well, so real quick icebreaker, because I think this is something that helps people get to know each other. And for me, some of these things are just like little telltale signs of who you are.
Okay.
So I didn't warn you about it because in the green room, sometimes you go in there and nobody's in there, and sometimes you go in there and you're talking over each other. And so I just was like, it's all right. She's a pro at interviews, so we're going to just roll with it. So this is my this or that icebreaker. It's nothing big. I just like to ask, like, do you like things this way or that way? And we'll get to know you. I'm going to do 3 questions and then we'll kind of
Okay.
just dive into your story. So, one thing for me, this would be something that matters. And I bet this matters in relationships too. You probably will know that. Toilet paper, over or under? How do you put the roll on?
I think I'm a no. I'm pretty sure I'm over. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm over.
Over.
Yeah.
Good. We're the same. All right. If
Okay.
you had to choose beach or mountain?
Beach.
Beach, me too. Okay. And then this is one of my favorites to ask, books. Okay. Do you rather audibles or do you rather a book in your hand?
Book in hand.
Book in hand. Do you love the smell of a new book? I know what it is.
I don't really smell books. So,
Okay.
but you know what? I like the smell of a new car.
There you go.
But yeah, there's something. Yeah, I'm probably no. I don't smell books.
Oh man. Okay. I know. I'm probably weird in that regard. Okay. All right. So what I'd like to do is ask you a couple of questions and just kind of get your story. I want to know a little bit of the background of your story as to, you know, well, you said you went through a divorce. Most of us, if we've been through a divorce, have experienced some level of trauma or places in our lives where we've lost hope. And so
Mm-hmm.
I kind of want to just look into a little bit of you in areas that maybe you have found that maybe you were down and some of the things you did to keep hope alive. And then how did maybe that lend itself or lead you into the career you're in? Because I feel like the career you're in is very much about giving back to people who want really good, promising relationships.
Yeah, I mean that's a great question. I have to say that there have been, I'm a human being. There have been countless times in my life where I've felt hopeless. I felt hopeless in 2020. I felt hopeless in 2021. There's not a year that yeah, there's probably not a year that has gone by where at some point in my life I didn't feel some hopelessness in some area of my life. Like I've one area where I felt hopeless for a very long time before a milestone birthday was this, weight loss journey I had. It's like, I just couldn't get rid of this certain amount of weight, or I couldn't get my diet right, or, I just kept starting and stopping and starting and stopping these diets. And when you do that, you feel hopeless. It's not like you fail. You're just like, oh, why can't I get this right? Mm-hmm. In the context of relationships, my very first experience of true hopelessness was my first real traumatic relationship. I've had many traumatic relationships. I think in many, I'll just speak for myself. It's not all been roses and rainbows, even though I'm a matchmaker. So I think we've talked about that before. My very first traumatic relationship when I was 17. Actually, I ran away from home when I was 17. And so I was a bit of a rebel, did not want to follow the rules, came from a traditional family. My dad was super strict, son of a general in the army, very militant. I'm in Canada. You can't tell me what to do. We're not in the Philippines. So, and I was very headstrong. And so I ran away from home. And when I ran away from home, the first relationship I ended up in was an abusive relationship with my first true boyfriend. Mm-hmm. And when he broke up with me, I discovered, by the way, he was cheating on me. It was this Filipino National Day in this big park. And I go to this park and there is some girl he's piggybacking. I remember it top of the mountain, who is that? And it was just, and the acknowledgement, I think when he met me, he was a true narcissist. I didn't know any of these terminologies before, Deanna, but I was devastated. Clearly betrayed, many of those things. And as well, he was really abusive. So I stayed in a relationship that not only was abusive, but he was a cheater, all of those things. When it ended, that was a true sense of hopelessness. And I actually tried to commit suicide, and I was hospitalized. And it was after that experience I actually called my mom or went back home, even though my relationship with my father wasn't completely repaired. My mom and I have always had a great relationship. So I called my mom. I'm I don't know what to do.
Can I pause you for a second and ask this question? In that relationship, I find that it there tends to be a thing when people get into relationships very young. And it sometimes happens. It kind of is a common theme, or maybe it's not common, but it happens often in those relationships because you don't really know how to handle that relationship yet. But how long did you stay in the relationship?
That relationship. So when I think about my timeline, and the funny thing is I have a 17-year-old upstairs and I have a 23-year-old who's at work right now. And when I looked at them at the age that I ran away and that I was in this really abusive relationship, I think I was actually 18 when we met. I was already homeless on the streets, fending for myself for about a year. So we probably met when I was 18. Mm-hmm. We stayed together from say 18 to 19 and a half. So I probably was with him for a year and a half. And the first sign of abuse, when there was a physical abuse and it escalated and got worse, I remember I called my sister-in-law, who's my brother's wife. My brother was still in high school. He was 20 in college at that point. My sister-in-law, by the time this happened repeatedly, and I'm sure you've worked with people who have been abused. By the time I called her for help and she came to my house or residence or car, wherever I was, by that point, I'm oh, everything's okay. I didn't go with her. I already forgave him. I already said, but I love him. He apologized. He'll never do it again. And I could just see the look in her face. I couldn't have even imagined what it was like to be her, to have somebody that you care and love being in an abusive relationship like that stayed in it and made all kinds of excuses. And this is years and years and years ago. And of course, you're right. As a young person, not ever having been, having any tools, any resources, any counseling, any therapy, that's non-existent. And because I came from a very strict upbringing and, immigrant families discipline differently. Okay. Let's just say that I was disciplined physically, and that's normal. It was normal. It was not so to have um, to be spanked or to see hitting, like this was not, it wasn't a big deal. It was just what people did, right? So I
Mhm.
think that maybe made the excuse because I had experienced it in childhood, so this was familiar ground to me.
Right. And I think that's important for people to acknowledge. Is there a place for cardinal punishment when you're dealing with your children? And I know this has been a topic for a long time when it comes to parenting, parenting styles. And I'm not here to sit here and judge people or how they parent or whatever. But I want people to hear it, though, loud and clear, because here's a point at which you have to understand the ramifications of the way you discipline and understanding the role that that might play in future relationships, especially when it comes to girls. I think it's different when it comes to females in the relationship and heterosexual relationships with the dominant male figure. Now,
Yeah.
that is not to say that men don't experience this, because honestly, the statistics say that they're almost equal, and we know it's underreported. But
Well, I'm a middle child. So my older brother and my younger brother, we all grew up in the same family. So if one
mhm,
sibling got in trouble, we all got in trouble.
mhm,
And if we all were disciplined the same way. So how my brothers and I carried that experience into our adulthood, into our partnerships, I'm sure that there are, impacts to being raised a certain way. And to be frank, I was very, very concerned about having my own children, and I was really worried of how I would be as a disciplinarian and whether I would have any self control in my
mhm,
dealing with the kids. And I think I've done an incredible job of not following certain behaviors. And at the same time, I'm mindful that, okay, I feel like I'm about to blow up here. Like I better take a step back because I know what blowing up like actually looks like, where it's like I I have enough I have enough sanity or experience now because I've had all these tools and resources to know that that's not correct behavior. And do we go off the handles? Have I yelled a couple of times and I've been a human parent? Of course I have, but I really did was very mindful of not physically disciplining my children, and even more so that I have a 5-year old. I don't know that she knows what a spanking is. Like I'll tell her and I said I don't know if I should tell her I'm going to spank your butt. She doesn't know what that is.
well, and the thing is, the mindfulness in that is breaking a cycle. I get it. We've patted people, our kids' butt, or you might slap a hand that's touching a fire. Like you might have a reaction that pulls somebody back from danger, and that's normal, and I get that.
Oh
But
yeah, if it's danger, like I first of all, I can probably say because I do seek professional help, and I think that anybody who's ever dealt with a past trauma or any needs any kind of support should go to a professional. In the same way that I consider myself to be a dating professional, a matchmaking professional, if I need help and support that I really need support with, I'm going to go to a professional. So I do know that I've had PTSD from past experiences. I don't use the word lightly. I know that there are certain triggers that come up, and that when I see violent, I'm very empathetic as well. So when I can't watch slapstick comedy. It bothers me.
mhm,
I can't watch those shows where guys like they do crazy things to themselves. Like it's nuts. I like will have nightmares if I see. I don't watch horror movies. So I really try to avoid anything that just puts my mind into thinking somebody's being harmed. And I think that is a direct result from me avoiding harm and me just not wanting to manifest that and to also have that behavior in front of my children. Because if you're going to be around that, you are who you hang out with, you are your environment. And I've had enough, many years of being taught a certain way that I'm trying to untrain, right? We're trying to reframe.
Right. And you have to look too generationally. So, Rocksteady, she is Filipino. Her family background and her heritage is Filipino. And she now lives in Toronto in Canada. Um,
Is
but,
she here? Or who's Rocksteady?
the guy, the first one, well,
Oh,
second
oh,
now at the
hey,
bottom in the
Filipinos.
audience.
I didn't know that. I'm
Yeah.
Filipina too. I'm Filipino Canadian. So,
No, he was asking what you were. That I'm
oh,
answering a
oh,
question of
okay,
his. He's from Australia.
okay. I thought
But he's
I see this little,
Italian.
I see this little avatar. So I'm like, and he's got
Right.
a beard. I'm thinking he's Filipino.
Yeah. No, he's actually Italian and he lives
Yeah.
in Australia. So there you go.
Well,
So
my brother married an Italian woman, and I'm so blessed because I really have been around tons, like very diverse, multicultural families, friends. I grew up in a diverse community. So it was never all one type. And that being said, when you come from humble beginnings, you are exposed to many different things and someone who's brought up in a different way, a different style. And so, again, to your point, the hopeless, there's been a lot of that from feeling as a kid slightly deprived from not being able to have the brand names. And I remember this one, my mom probably won't even remember, but I remember this one experience where I threw the biggest fit on the planet. I think I was in a Zellers or in, like, I don't know, like today's Target. And those socks came out, those long socks where you had like toes in them, like you put your toes in.
yes,
I,
yes,
for
yes.
whatever reason, I wanted those freaking socks. And I was like, I want those socks. And I think I gave my poor mom the worst time ever. And I just had it. I had it that I couldn't have things that I wanted. And that was the day that I had a freaking meltdown. And I feel badly for my mom. She's a saint. But when you that's and you know that's just a crazy experience, but it's so vivid to me because I just felt like I'm never gonna get what I want, right? Like I can't afford it, or we don't have the money, or whatever. And that was I felt pitiful in that moment, you know.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
thank God, my parents taught me more than material values, and every child has been, quite successful and self-sufficient. And my parents, you know, did so much for us as kids. So you don't know those sacrifices and you can't appreciate it until you become a parent one day.
Yeah, right. We were talking about that on another show, and it's just like, no matter how much you say it, and no matter what you try to impart to your kids, they're not going to understand everything until they've gone through those phases of life themselves. Whether it's becoming a parent, whether it's understanding what it's like to be in midlife, or whatever it is, they're just not going to get most of it until they actually get there. But the thing is, you keep at it because when you say it, when you tell them, when they do get there, they have those aha moments where they get to come back to you. Because my kids are 31 and 29. So when they come back to you, right, they come back to you and they go, Mom, you were right.
Yeah.
And I love when they do that.
I can't even see how that's possible, Deanna, but my goodness, I need your skincare secret, girl.
Oh, girl, come on now. Yeah,
Woo!
we, that it's, yeah. I have 5 grandkids, so it's been fun. I have 3 of them here
Wow.
today, so yeah, it's fun.
Amazing.
And I love the beauty of all of that because what you talked about is generational trauma too. When you have families that are raised like they are, like that culturally, you have a generational trauma because that culture has been ingrained. And it's not that it's bad. It's just that times change, we learn, we do better, we know better, we do better. And but it is still passed down, even genetically. Like, I love the epigenetic studies that go on now, and you find out that these memories are trapped in your cells, and so it is. And just for you, just it's admirable to see the mindset of saying, hey, I'm going to on purpose not discipline that way, because I think that had an impact on the way I allowed myself to be treated in
Yeah, you know,
relationships.
I really think that as we progress in society, as we evolve as humans, like when you think about the conversations that people are having with 2-year olds, with toddlers, like there was this whole thing on another platform about, and that whole law about, okay, not talking about being gay to kids from a certain age. And the fact that we have to bring that up is because the more that we have access to information, and the more that we've got these young people, exposed to all these things, we are addressing issues that we've never had to address. I didn't have the kinds of conversations with my parents, and I felt like I couldn't have those conversations because
Mm-hmm.
you don't talk about those things. But now, and in still certain parts of the world, in certain cultures, there's conversations that are taboo. You don't talk about it. And I believe in Western society where my kids are, when my son's first experience with a girl is that she's bisexual, and he's like, I don't have girl parts. Like, what am I supposed to do with that? You know what I mean? It's like there's so many things that we're exposed to. And also you have more access to resources. So I think my mindfulness of making sure that I broke certain patterns, because I was very interested in interpersonal relationships. I got into the relationship space at 19. I applied for a job in a call center in 1992. And because relationships were, and how they work, and romantic, and why people get together, and why they break up, and how do you fix this cycle, and oh my god, all of this trauma, and you broke up for this, like I talked about relationships 24/7. It was my job to do
Mm-hmm.
so. I became very curious about relationships and what makes people tick, and I wanted to have better relationships with the people in my life, and with my future partners, with anybody who I do business with, right? So, and it's not perfect, Deanna. You can do all the research in the world and still make mistakes. And again, there's a lot of deprogramming, because how we learn and how we experience things is genetic, as you said. It's in our DNA, and there's evolutionary psychology, and they do say that when you analyze the brain or mind of an individual who's like maybe closed off, or even psychopaths or murderers or whatever, when they actually analyze the brain or anatomy of these people, there is it looks a certain way, it behaves a certain way, it's shaped
Right.
a different way,
Right.
right? Things aren't connecting the way they're supposed to. Like, I don't know what my brain looks like, but I'd be curious to know what's going on in there.
Well, here's yeah, and so I like that you bring that up. So I just finished studying the book, "The Body Keeps the Score," and he does a lot of talking in there about brain and imaging and the things that they can learn and understand about the brain. And one of the things they do understand about a person who has experienced real trauma. So when we talk about things like intimate partner violence or abuse or domestic violence, when we talk about people who have maybe gone through sexual assault, which also is this month's awareness as well. It's interesting. It's National Stress Month, Awareness Month. It's National Sexual Assault Awareness Month. It's Child Sexual Abuse Prevention Month, and it's the month of hope. Now, I decided on hope because I like to bring to the front that there is laughter after, right? When you do the healing and you do the work, I do think that we all are capable of self-healing, but I don't want to push this other stuff away. It is the arena that I work in. But one of the things that they brought up in this book was the imaging of a person who has experienced trauma, who has these triggers and experiences flashbacks, the way the brain lights up and the way that the brain cuts off access to certain areas of the other parts of the brain that do not allow you to function logically or process through things logically. It's as though you're living in the experience when you have those type of things. So when they've studied this in veterans, they have also found now that people who have experienced these personal interpersonal traumas, their brains react exactly the same way.
Yeah, well, I have, and I have experience from quite, I think in my early adulthood, night terrors, right? So I will talk in my sleep. I've scared several people that have slept in my bed. and
Oops.
and like roommates and my kids, and like I remember when I was a teenager, I slept at my girlfriend's house and I woke up like my body got straight up. I think I screamed. I don't know what I was doing. I was screaming. And then her brother was like, your friend's crazy. She's crazy. But and then there's times where I have like not thought deja vu, but I recall a uncomfortable or unpleasant experience
Mm-hmm.
in speaking to someone, or like just my brain unlocks this memory and I'm like, oh my God, that happened. It's
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
it's like your brain chooses to, at the end of the day, we're surviving, right? I don't know all the mechanics as to how the brain works, but I do know that traumatic experiences for many people, it's like almost it's erased because it's your coping mechanism. And if I had to live with certain memories that I've experienced that were unpleasant and it was at the forefront, I don't know how I would function properly, because what you focus on grows. So that being said, in moments of hopelessness, the more that I think about, oh, well, there's no solution and here I am again and woe is me and, pity, pity, pity. Of course, you're going to feel like you've got no options because that's what you're saying in your brain, right? But the moment you take whatever devastating situation, and I can think of countless people and stories in social media and news where the most devastating things have happened to people and that they've found a way to turn that around, and forgive their offender, bounce back after, losing it all. And then I say to myself, girl, suck it up.
Yeah, so
You
that's a
ain't
good
got
question.
nothing to worry about. You're not in the Ukraine right now. You did not get blown up on a bus in the Bronx. Like, you were not in 9/11 tower. Like, we can count all these kinds of things. And so my solution to times of hopelessness is to really reframe and come from a space of gratitude and say, it's kind of sick to think like, well, somebody else's work, like think of somebody else who has it worse than you. I can think of so many, right? So many. So if that's what somebody has to do to say, look, what's the worst? That's not the worst thing that could happen to you, right? There, you could be
Mm-hmm.
dead. Like the worst thing that could happen to you is you are dead. You're not on the planet, right? So everything is work figure outable. That's what Marie Forleo says. I
Yeah.
don't steal her phrase. Everything is figure outable. And again, another phrase, it's not happening to you, it's happening for you. And I can tell you that in the last 6 months, the last every as I said, every year of my life, every day of my life, there's an incident that happens for me. That's a reminder of my humanness, and that there's room for improvement, and also that I can take the time to acknowledge what I have accomplished and who I am to people, and to find joy in the simplest things.
Yeah, so I love that, and I like to be able to really pull that out when we have people here listening. So one of the five keys that I talk about in getting back to feeling at home within yourself, gratitude and forgiveness, which are two things that you mentioned, um, are so important because in those moments when you decide on purpose to tap into that, You just can't be in the place of despair and a place of gratitude psychologically. You can't be in those two places at the same time. So if you choose the gratitude, it's going to shift the rest. And so I love that. I think that's beautiful. I love that that is something that you brought up, um, in the reframe, right? So with that being said, I don't know if there's anything else that you have to share with your story, but I would love to know how this led into you matchmaking, because I find that career choice fascinating.
Well, my life experiences happened after matchmaking because, as I mentioned to you, well, actually, I was 1992. I don't know how old. It was after my abusive situation. So I had already either gone home or dealt with the situation. So I think I was in my like 2021 when I got my job, like 30, close over 30 years ago. It was like 20, yeah, in my early 20s, if not 20. And I just literally applied to an ad. My first high school sweetheart, like he was not the love of my life, but he was like my high school sweetheart. My first boyfriend, grade 9 to grade 10, Filipino guy, Nathaniel, super sweet. We kept in touch, and he's like, Carm, you have to. I'm working for this dating company. It's called Together Dating. You guys can go. It was around in the early 90s. And he's like, you should apply. You would be good at this. I'm like, what do I have to do? It's like, well, you call people and tell that you talk about dating and you book appointments to have them see a relationship counselor. And I'm like, a dating service? Like, I get paid to talk on the phone about dating? Like, sign me up. So I signed up. It was like literally a cold call room. Like in my hiring process, there's 50 people in a room, and I literally had a dialed phone. This is pre Facebook, internet, social media. It was dial up in 90s. Okay. Like we advertised in the mail, in the radio. So people had to like fill it out in the mail because like I said, this did not exist. So I started in the dating industry on the phones, dialing on the phone. Hi, can I speak to John? Hey, John, it's Carmelia. And I literally read a script, but I had a gift of the gab and I was curious about people. I still am. So when you have a genuine desire to help and you just want to know about people, and when you understand that loneliness is an epidemic, right? Being single, if you believe that having a partner, or that anybody who wants a partnered relationship and they're committed to it and that's what they want to do, and you can provide a solution for that, it's a no-brainer. It was so easy for me. I didn't have to know anything other than that if I helped someone make a decision to come to the office, they were going to have a solution given to them. And so you could not say no to me if you tried, or I would do my best to make sure that you did it. And so I just, it wasn't sales to me. It was presenting a great opportunity. And if somebody were on the phone and they were single and they didn't try this yet, I'm like, what do you have to lose? It was really simple communication. And so that's what happened.
Yeah, and I love that because you can see the passion that you have even still for it, and it was because you saw that there was a solution.
Yep.
You saw the problem, you saw the solution, and you're like, I'm going to be part of the solution.
Yep.
Period.
Yeah, and I think what really the more challenging a person is, like the more they're on defense and their hands are like this, and I just want to soften them up and what are you mad about? What's why are you so angry? What's up? Like let's figure this out. And I got used to people. I didn't care if you hung up the phone on me. That's your choice, right? Like I never took things personally because I always knew that something was going on over there. It had nothing to do with me, right? But of course, if I was the problem and like I'm having a bad day and I'm being rude to people and I'm not paying attention or not listening, of course I'm not perfect, right? But at the end of the day, whenever I went to work and I knew what my mission was, what my goal was, that's all that I was really focused on.
I love it. Well, I'd like to open the floor up if that's okay with you, or open the stage up
Totally.
if anybody has questions that they'd like to come up and ask about. I would love to have you up on the stage. Just hit the invite or request button, the little plus sign up there, and ask away. You guys can join us up here. If you have some, oh, tell us about what I just put in the fortune cookie. So this is something
Oh,
that I
yeah.
put
Okay.
your book.
So,
Yeah.
on my website, CarmeliaRay.com, I offer a free book. When I first started in the industry in 2010, I wrote this A to Z guide on how to find and attract your soulmate. So it's a really easy read from A to Z. You know what I feel is important. From at that point, it was like 20 years in the industry. What I felt were the most common things that help somebody, find love. And so that's my free book. If you follow me on Instagram, pardon me, I'm really easy to find. I'm at Carmelia Ray everywhere. That's LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Clubhouse, here, Fireside, Wisdom, all of it. Just Google me and you'll find me, because I want to make it easy for people to connect with me. I do offer a free call on my Instagram, and then I have a bunch of paid calls if you want to learn about matchmaking. Another benefit, Deanna, as you know, because I've really marketed myself and have created quite a name for myself in the industry. I've done a bunch of television. Like, I also help people increase their visibility, get on television, get noticed. And so I also have offers there to help people, find the right partnerships and get more of the right eyeballs towards them. Because at the end of the day, I love to match make business, singles, whatever you need, right? Like, I think I'm always playing matchmaker.
Right, the
Yeah.
connector. I love it because so the way we met was through that. You did a mastermind that had look. I and I can vouch for this, guys. Like, it was so information. I'm still not finished. My mind's
Your
still swirling
homework,
from
I
it.
know, right?
I mean, I'm still swirling for the amount of information. If you're trying to do anything else and do that, trust me, it's a lot. But
It's
the
a lot.
value of the information was just incredible, and eye opening as to what's involved. And so just to know and see that your presence, I mean, we've gotten um, I've seen your clips on Cityline. I've seen you on all the news shows and talk shows, and you've been regular on like some TV shows, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, City Line's a major show, national show on television. I've been on I come on as a special guest on a number of shows. I've been on OWN Network, Real Housewives of Toronto, NBC, ABC, Fox, Netflix, all of it. Like, I don't, and it's because I'm passionate about helping people. And when you are as passionate, I think, as I am, as I know so many entrepreneurs and other personalities are very passionate about what they're doing, it's only natural that you're going to get on the radar, right? So
Hmm.
I started my relationship and dating blog in 2010. This is after 20 years of being behind the scenes, and
Hmm.
I just made it a point. I said, you know what? I want to help people. I want to give information, and now I am, I'm attached to a lot of dating brands. In Toronto, there's a dating a dating booking service. It's called Woo You app, and so you can go on there, plan a date, decide who pays. It's really cool. It's a Woo You dating app in Toronto to help people create better dates. And then Clarity is the app for your love life. So I have several courses on Clarity for mature singles. I've got some courses for singles over 40. I do work with a variety of singles, millennials to those who are, I say, maturely dating, or they're in their second choice in life. Like, like I had been when I divorced, my first divorce. I was still in my late 30s, actually. So 38, I had two young kids that I had dated as a single mom. And, dating as a single person in any stage in life, can be very challenging. And then Deanna, to your point, like where you specialize in intimate partner violence, on top of that, having been somebody who my first experience was a abusive person, I'm sure there are different considerations that I thought about and that I think about when I'm dating someone. But I will say this, Deanna, which I don't know if it'll be helpful in terms of this conversation and, laughter after my first relationship with that abusive partner. For me, it wasn't about, if I dated somebody new, I never ever thought, is he is he abusive? Was never in my thinking. It was more, are we gonna is this somebody argumentative? Are we gonna fight? Like, is this somebody that's on the same page? Because at the time that I realized, after that whole incident, when you raise your value and you realize I never want to go through that again, and I can just speak for me, if violence ever showed up or something showed up that I didn't like that would have been, like, when you experience something like that, I didn't repeat that cycle, thankfully, again in other partnerships. So never dated another abusive person. But I can tell you that when I see abuse happening, whether it's in front of me, on television, in a playground, on a phone, it's such a red flag for me. Like, I just get immediately like high alert, and it's like panic mode. So I don't want to be around it.
Yeah. No, I can imagine, and I get it, because I didn't repeat that cycle either, but I stayed in it for a long time. Like, for
Mm-hmm.
me, I was in a marriage for 18 years. And again, you think about culture, what you were raised as, the environment you were raised in, how you were taught that, maybe divorce is a sin, or you don't raise your kids without their dad, or all of these things, that if you did that, you felt like you were a failure. And so then you have a person who's playing mind tricks, right? So you're always in this, it's just this crazy loop, when you finally get free of it. So I'm glad that was a short-lived moment in your life, because it gave you insight, for especially for what you do, but then it also allowed you to move forward and be very aware of your boundaries, which is amazing. I'm going to take a second and call out the audience. You guys, don't be shy. I would love to hear from you guys to step up. So thanks for being here, Jocelyn, Gail, Dave, Peter, Sam, Annette, Stacy, me, Rocksteady. And if you guys
Yeah,
have
I mean, I
questions,
would say, come on up, and even if you don't want to use video, like, use audio. I know a lot of times people are maybe intimidated. Oh, yay, we have someone. Hey, Peter.
yeah.
Hey
So
there.
Peter Sobey is a friend that I met through Wendy, who is another creator on here,
Cool.
and he's done production stuff. And so, yes, Peter, you had something you wanted to ask or say or add? Tell us what you got.
Yeah, yeah, I've got a couple of things. First of all, nice to meet you, Carmelia,
Nice
and
to meet you.
nice to see you again, Deanna.
Likewise.
First of all, I was really inspired, Carmelia, by what you said. I don't remember the exact quote, but it was that it's not, was it like victimhood? It's actually an opportunity, not a,
Hmm.
when something bad happens to us, it's not something against us, it's an opportunity.
I know what you say. It's not happening to us, it's happening for us.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah, that's I certainly not my phrase. I've heard it many, many times. The most infamous person or notable person that reminded me of that is Joe Polish. He's one of the number one marketers in the world, and we're friends, been to his Genius Summit, and it was Shawn Stevenson, the little man in the wheelchair who unfortunately had a tragic accident, literally one of his best friends. And before he died, because he's in a wheelchair, he hit himself. I think he was playing around in his wheelchair. He hit himself in the head, and it was such a traumatic fall that he had to be rushed to the hospital. And it was in this hospital bed that he said, "This is happening for me. It's not happening to me." And yeah, he has said that multiple times. So unfortunately, he passed. But that's where I get that phrase from. So I found it really profound, and I'm glad you enjoyed that.
Yeah, it's amazing. I've actually studied the ancient wisdom of Kabbalah, and they talk about, when obstacles and difficulties and change and bad things come up in our life, it's actually something that our soul has like been wanting us to change for a long time and we haven't done it. So it's like the universe is like, okay, I'm going to put this obstacle in your way, and it's an opportunity to make something good happen in your life to overcome this obstacle. And
Yes,
it's funny
totally.
that you mentioned that gentleman was in a wheelchair, because I myself am in a wheelchair. When I was 19 years old, I had an accident, dove into a lake, it was too shallow, became quadriplegic. But anyway, I've always felt that it's been my duty in life to inspire people. So I just resonate with that whole thing. But the other thing that I would like to ask a question to you as a dating expert, and I'm about, of the same generation as you from what I've heard from the conversation.
Okay.
But I never was bold enough. I had a couple opportunities in life, that might have been close to marriage, but I was honestly never bold enough to take that step. And now I'm a man in my early 50s, and it feels, you know, dating seems like the furthest thing away. I mean, even taking COVID out of the equation altogether, that we're all hermits now. But what advice would you give to myself and others out there, even if they're not in their 50s, as far as like finding the bravery to share yourself with someone? Because it is, I think, a big act of bravery.
I agree with that. Did you freeze, Carmelia?
Yeah, I think she's a little frozen.
Uh-oh. She'll have to
You
jump
might
back
not
in.
have heard the question. I might have to
I,
rephrase it again.
yeah, that's okay. She'll jump back in. It's a good question because I do think that a lot of people our age, I wonder if it's me. Am I having the problem? Because Rock
I don't
just
think it's
dumbfound
you, but
too.
I
Let
you're
let
coming
me,
through clear.
yeah, okay. Let
Hold on, hold
me,
on. Something happened and I got kicked out, and I was like, what's going on? Okay, let me turn on my. How do I turn on my video
I just
again?
invited you to video. You should
Okay.
just have to say accept.
Do you want to do it again? Because
Yes,
I. Okay.
certainly I do.
I could do video too, Deanna, if you want.
Oh, absolutely. Sure you
I've
can.
actually got my phone.
Okay. Sorry
Right.
about that. I'm like, oh my God, he just asked the question and I'm gone.
That's
And then
okay.
Rocksteady left and I wanted to chat with him too. But anyway, Rocksteady,
He'll
if
come
you're
back up.
there, come on up.
I asked you a vulnerable question, Carmelia, and you bolt on me.
Disappear. You bolted.
I'm sorry. What is it? What is it?
Okay, so I'm a man in my early 50s, and I had my opportunities earlier, but I didn't take them. And of course, dating pre, during, and post COVID is a whole nother topic. But let's just say that, once COVID's over and we're all out in the world and looking for dates, I find it the older I get, the harder it is to see myself with someone. And I think it takes like a huge act of bravery to be with someone at this point. And it could be for any age, but I especially find it at my age, the older I get, it feels like the bigger the leap that needs to be taken to share your life with someone. So, what advice would you have for that notion?
Number one, it's again when I talked about it here. It's reframing your mindset. If you believe that it's harder at your age, it's harder at your age. If you I can send you a success story of a screenshot of a collaborating matchmaker who just was featured because her couple is 76 and 61, or they're in their 70s and they moved in together in their 70s, and that's 20 years more than your age, right? So I have clients in their 60s. I have my eldest clients is 75. They've not given up hope. And in fact, they say, intimacy and those fun things are even better in your 60s, right? So there's a lot to look forward to. And I think it really depends on when you're too far out, like for example, if you leave dating too far, then yes, it'll feel like, man, I got to catch up a little bit, right? I got to learn the new technology or what people are saying or whatnot. So don't, it's just reframing your brain. First of all, you're not too old. I would never tell anybody that. And I've shared that story with you because I am working with singles above your years. But what's really great is that you're being honest about it. And I think many women can relate to what you're saying. And there's a lot of women who also have that same fear. I think women suffer more from ageism and feeling less desirable as we get older than men do. So I'm not surprised, and it's not like I'm I don't want to say the word is comforted, but the fact that you as a man believe that you may not be desired when you in fact are a hot commodity. Like you in fact are a hot commodity in the dating world.
Well, thanks. The reframing the mind is a great little nugget of advice. And of course, the other thing I got out of that, if I wait until I'm 70, I'll find someone. All right, thanks. Bye.
It was nice to meet you, Peter. Thank you so much for the question.
Yeah.
Oh, there's Rocksteady.
Oh,
Hey, Rocksteady.
Hi, sorry, I'm in and out because it's my morning here and the kids are driving me wild. So,
Oh, I love that.
He's 13 hours into the future.
Woo,
Hey, Rock,
I
do you
love
want to
it.
come on, or is it too much commotion?
too much commotion for me. I could bounce any second, but I just wanted to come up and say hi. And I love your talks, and I've caught some of your talks before here on Fireside as well. And I think Deanna's done a great job with an interview with you here today, by the way. And I know that there's a friend of mine from one of these other social audio apps. He hangs in your show. I won't name him particularly here. He's not here right now. I could message to you privately. You'll catch him in your shows. He's really hanging on every word that you say, because this kid I've known him for about a year, and he was married before. He's single now. He's really not a player in any way. He's just looking for a long-term relationship, marriage. He just can't get it. He just,
you know what?
trying
He
so
sounds
hard.
like my kind of person. So make the introduction.
God.
I would love.
I'd love to. I actually introduced him to your shows. That's why he hangs out. Now, this kid is he's had like 2 dates in his life, but he's been married. He married.
But you say kid. How old is this guy? I think.
Oh no! When I say kid, he's about 40, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm 40, so I call myself a kid because I'm immature.
Yeah.
But yeah, but I don't know how I can reach out to you. I've just tried to add you on Instagram actually, but I'd love to connect you guys
Instagram, and send me a DM. If you are connected with Deanna, she has my number. She has my email. Okay. I'm super, super transparent. Instagram's the best. Tell him to DM me or DM me the word single, or reach out by email. It's carmeliaray@gmail.com. But I'll give Deanna I don't know where she puts her show notes, but she knows how to reach me. And that's
cool. I can reach out to Deanna. And one thing I just want to add to this is that the only reason I bring this up, and there's a lot of guys I know like this over the years, like I actually used to do a little bit of coaching with guys, it was for them thinking about picking up girls, but it's really about building their confidence. And that was the core thing of it, right? And for him, it's difficult online because he's in America, I'm in Australia. However, he's started to try and look down the track of the whole red pill theory, which is dangerous. It's a dangerous ideology for men, right? But I think he steered away from that off my advice. And I'm just worried that he may get to that suicidal stage. I don't think he'd actually do it, but he sounds so down and so desperate to just find love. My heart goes out to him. That's why.
I'll say this, Rocksteady, and I'm sure Deanna needs to wrap up, and I do too. There's a lot, unfortunately, when it comes to love, there is a lot of hopelessness in the love space where people do feel that way. And you're not wrong to feel like this, oh my gosh, I hope this person isn't so depressed or upset that they would take their life, because guess what? Love makes people do crazy things.
It does.
And I tried to commit suicide as a 19-year-old, and thank God I didn't do it, because I wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't have
the one thing I'm happy you failed in. That's right.
Sorry?
I said it's the one thing I'm happy you failed in that.
Yeah, for sure. I'm probably sure I could do it right this time, but I'm not going to do that. But thank you. Feel free to reach out to me.
I will, absolutely. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Thanks, Deanna, for a great show as well. Awesome.
Oh, thank you. And just reach out to me, Rock, and I'll get all the information to you. I will put show notes in here when I get the show updated, so they will be in the description of this show. And then it takes me about a week because I do all my own work. I do all my own stunts. It takes me about a week, but I'll get this up on YouTube, and then everything will be in those show notes as well. And then I'll share that with you, Carmelia, so that you have all the information.
Amazing. It was a blast.
Yeah, I enjoyed it too. I really appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much. I'm honored to have you. So I appreciate that. And you guys follow Carmelia. You see where she is. And I'm going to play us out, and I won't leave it on long, but I'm going to play us out with one of my husband's songs because Waitbot stinks. So I'm just going to put his song on for a little bit, and you guys can hang out, get her information out of the cookie for a couple of seconds. Carmelia, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Till next time, guys. I see you. You are beautiful. Bye-bye.
Got you feeling alright. Where is your body moving? Come on, do it all night.